last minute, so I'm scrambling for them.
Yeah. I was just saying to Karen, you know, it seems like you'd learn through life that every year you say you're going to be more organized before the next Christmas so that it's, you know, it's, but I never am. It never happens. Well, let yourself sit however is comfortable. So, you know, if you're on the floor, grab blankets if you need to. Sit up on blankets so that you're comfortable. And if you're in your chair, get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. And just make sure you feel like you can easily lengthen up through the top of your head. I'm going to draw this a little bit closer. And close your eyes. And start to come into being with your own breath. Accepting your breaths in and out through your nose. Feeling the belly actually rise and fall a little bit as you breathe in and out. Feeling that length upward through the top of your head so that when you do find all that space in your spine, it's easier to breathe. You can accept your breaths in and out. And feel the movement as you breathe in and out. And if you're comfortable to come into those 3-part breaths, you can inhale into your belly, into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. And when you exhale, let the breath come out of your chest first, and then your ribs, and then your belly. And let your face soften and relax. And then just start to move a little bit with your breath, letting your exhalations bring you forward a little bit, and your inhalations bring you back upright. And you don't need to move very far. You know, maybe keeping the back long, you only want to come an inch or so forward, or if it feels very good to come farther forward, let yourself come farther forward when you exhale. So just gently moving with the breath. Next time you come forward, let yourself stay forward. Now, whether you use your hands to support you, or maybe you're just coming forward enough to put your, if you're in your chair, elbows above your knees, or maybe you want to go farther down or farther out with your hands if you're on the floor. Just be mindful of your own back. Take your time. Let yourself enjoy feeling the breath. Letting, if possible, your head hang as long as that doesn't bother your back. Just be easy. Feeling the expansion through the ribs as you inhale. And one more breath here. And then be easy when you rise on back up. Take your time. Let yourself come on back up to sitting and release your arms on out beside you here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And as we exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline. Once the hands get in front of your chest, just slightly lift your elbows up. Feel your hands connecting just a little more firmly, and feel your wrists. And then release the elbows down and inhale the hands now right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. And now let's rise and I'm going to mirror you. Right arm up, and then draw your arm across your chest and rest your hand, like kind of just hook your hand over the top of your shoulder if you can. If you need to, you can hold farther out towards, the outside of the shoulder, or you can be like in between your neck and your shoulder, really. And then just tilt your head away from your hand. Let your right ear come towards your right shoulder. And feel the weight of your hand here on your shoulder so that you can maybe find a little deeper release there. And then see about turning your chin down a little bit so you look down towards the ground. You'll find a little bit different stretch there through the neck, side of the neck. And then again, turn your head to look forward. And we'll rise on back up here with the head. Let your arm release on down beside you. And we're going to bring the left arm up and over across. And again, kind of where you go, totally up to you. You can always experiment a little bit, see what feels good to you. And then when you tilt your head away, if you can, again, just feel like the weight that hand puts there and the weight of your arm, hopefully just allowing you to release a little deeper on the right side of your neck. And just breathe. If you feel a really pretty tight place, see if you can bring your breath there. And if it's okay to turn your chin downward and look towards the floor, do. And then we'll turn the head to look back forward again. And as you rise the head on up, then go ahead and unfold your arm on down beside you. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's twist to our right. Bring yourself on around into that easy, gentle twist. Feel your sitting bones drawing down. Feel your feet in the floor too. Whatever part of your feet are touching, just press down gently into the feet. Engage the belly a little bit. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center and go all the way into the other direction. So again, pressing gently into your feet. Feeling that engagement up into your hips. One more inhale. And let your exhale bring you all the way on back around into center. And let's stretch our legs out, whether we're on the floor or in our chair. And let yourself flex your feet there. Feel the undersides of the legs. And then point both your feet. Really go ahead and look at your feet. See if you can really get into that pointing of the toes away. And then flex the feet again. And then let yourself point the feet again. And then just start to pedal. So one foot flexes and the other one points, and then you're just going to switch in your own time, just to let yourself move through the backs and the fronts of the legs. And then come on back and let the feet circle a little bit. You can go the same direction if you'd rather, or you can go opposite directions with your feet. And you can reverse whenever you want. Just finding your ankles there, letting your legs wake up a little more. And then we're going to come on back down, and if you were cross-legged, switch the leg that you had in front. So you'll pretty much know it's the leg that doesn't feel as natural, right? And then sit up tall again. Let your hands come gently to meet in front of your chest. Lengthen up through the crown of your head. And then clasp your hands and send your palms out away from your chest so that you're pressing into the heels of the hands. And then bring your hands back in towards your chest. You've still got your palms facing away from you. And imagine your fingers are interlocked, but you're trying to pull them apart. So you're reaching your elbows away from each other. Now try to soften down the tops of the shoulders. And then press out again into the heels of the hands. So really trying not to round forward when you do that. Think about almost leading still with your chest coming a little bit forward. And then come back again with the hands there. And again, try to pull them apart, but they're interlocked like that little thing we used to put on our fingers and try to pull off that, what was that called?
It was a Chinese something.
And then press out. Maybe not what we want to be thinking about right now. We're going to float the hands up higher and higher and higher. If you can, let your shoulders come away from your ears as you press into the heels of your hands. Doesn't matter whether they come all the way up or not. You know, be mindful of your own shoulders. And then go just a little bit to the right. Press a little more up into the heel of your left hand. Even if the arms are forward, you're going to get into the side body. And then come on back up to the top, and we'll go the other side. So again, just pressing a little more into the heel of that right hand, whether it's, you know, more directly over your head or in front of you a little. And then come on back up to the top. Release your hands. Let your arms come on down slowly. And let's make one big circle, bringing the arms forward and up and reaching them arms on back as far as you can behind you. Once they get down, we're just going to reverse and reach back and then up and over the top and let the arms release right on down beside us again. And then just shake your hands out, circle a little bit through your hands too. You can even make fists and open your hands a little bit, let your fingers have a little bit of movement. And we're coming around towards our hands and knees from here. So you know if you don't want to be on your knees, do not be on your knees. You can use a blanket, that can be helpful. You can be up on your hands up on the chair so that you're not even down on your knees on the floor. And you can get out of your hands however you need to as well. So if you need to be on forearms, whether you're on the floor or you put your forearms on blocks, you can still move through cat-cow this way without putting pressure into your hands and wrists. So you can also make fists with your hands if that feels better. So just do a couple of little, just kind of preliminary cat-cows. Do just a couple, let it feel real easy, just flow through. And then stop and come on back to neutral spine for a second. And now see if you can focus on your navel and imagine you're going to make little circles. Well, you're actually going to do it. You're not going to imagine, but little circles with your navel where you feel the belly button literally moving in this circular way. You inhale when the belly button drops down, exhale when you draw it to the side and up towards the spine, and inhale when it comes down the other side. Now you may actually be able to physically see you move here. I mean, you may be shifting even a little bit from, one side to the other, or you may be really little tiny with these circles where you can just barely see it, right? So take your time. Just find the navel making these little circles as best you can. Not easy. Stop and reverse the direction. Good. Just enjoy feeling the abdominals working here in the back, waking everything up there in the middle of the body, and then finish off the one you're on and do a couple more cat-cows. Let yourself move through into those easy flowing movements through the spine. Letting your exhale draw you up into cat poses, and your inhales bring you back through towards your cow. And you don't have to be as extreme in these poses. You can let yourself be a little less extreme if that feels better. Finish off the one you're on. We're going to come on back to more neutral spine here and bring our left foot forward and step our right foot back to come into our first lunge. So remember, let yourself feel that your feet are apart like you're on very narrow railroad tracks, so it feels better up into your hips. Whatever height you have your hands, just make sure that front knee is not bending out beyond your ankle. And really take your time here. Let your legs and your hips start to open up. Feeling the back of the right leg, obviously. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears and engage your belly a little bit. Good. And we're going to switch legs, however you want to switch. So bringing the left foot back, and this time again, once you kind of get like you're on those very narrow railroad tracks and you reach back through that inner left heel, the heel's directly behind your foot, be mindful of that front knee. Draw your shoulders down. Let yourself just enjoy opening up through the back of the left leg. Good. So one more breath here. And we're going to switch legs again. So letting that right leg come back. Take your time here. Really get situated. Feel the feet now gently pressing away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. And then see if you can bring your left hand up to your left hip. And if possible, roll that shoulder up as you look to the left. You can put your hand on your low back if you want, or you can keep it on your hip, finding a little bit of a twist there. And then we'll bring that hand on back down, and we're going to switch legs again. So stepping that left foot back, and again being really mindful of the alignment here, really reaching back through that inner heel. So you find the heel directly behind your foot, and then gently pressing the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. Right hand will come up to the hip, and again, so totally up to you if you want to keep your hand on your hip or go ahead and put the hand palm down onto your sacrum. And then we'll release and come on back down. And we're going to step forward from here, coming on into our standing forward bend. So be really mindful. You know, feel free to put a block up on the seat of your chair. If you feel iffy, if anything about your back is telling you something, just be mindful and let yourself release here. Bend your knees a little bit more than you usually do. Let yourself then, if you come to a little bit straighter leg, just think about your sitting bones being over your heels. Feel free to use your elbows, remember, above your knees, right? If you need to keep your back long, whatever helps you do that, you use what you need to use. Support that feels good. And then just let yourself start to feel that weight of the torso forward, helping the backs of your legs to open up. Feeling your breath now coming in and going out through your nose. Hands come on right up to our hips. We're going to press into our feet and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down. And as the hands come down, think of getting taller, right? Actually, try shifting just a little more to the balls of your feet. Not so much you feel like you're going to fall over, but just a little bit more to the balls of your feet. And then shift back a little more onto your heels. Not so much, again, that you're going to fall over. Maybe your toes want to lift up. That kind of helps you a little. And then come on back to feeling centered and do the same thing to the right and the left side. Just a little bit of a shift from one side to the other. And you can go back and forth if that feels good. So that when you do get ready to come right back into center between the right and the left, it feels very easy. You feel very centered between your feet, both front to back and side to side. Arches lifting up, feet equally into the floor. Bringing your gaze on out like you're looking at the horizon, whether your eyes are opened or closed. And just enjoy. Once the tailbone drops down like it's reaching towards between your heels, come to the back of your heels, then you're stacked up. And we'll let our arms now unfold on down beside us and inhale the arms all the way out and up into a wide open V. Turn your palms to face each other. Let yourself reach up through the fingertips, but let your shoulders soften down away from your ears. If you like to look up a little bit, you can. That's up to you. Feel those feet in the floor. Feel your tailbone still dropping down. One more inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come forward from the hips into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice, long, flat back. So a tabletop back there. And we're going to step the right foot back and come into lunge. So draw your shoulders down and really enjoy, again, finding yourself up into your hips by pressing your feet gently away from each other. And we'll come into a downward facing dog pose. So you know your down dog is your choice, whether your hands are on blocks, or the chair, or the floor. Reach back through your sitting bones. Go ahead and walk a little bit if you can. Let yourself bend a knee at a time. Let it feel really easy. And if your neck feels a little stiff, you can turn your head too from side to side, letting your neck release a little more. Good. And then come on back into your full dog, and on your next inhale, come out towards a plank. Now, you know you don't have to do a full push-up pose. You can go to your forearms. You can put your knees down and do a half, or you can let yourself stay in that full plank if you want, or do a little push-up or two, or, you know, bend your elbows just a little bit and feel how your biceps and your shoulders feel there. And then we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. We will bring our right foot forward this time to come to lunge. So however you need to get your right foot up there. You can put your knees down or come up and then back into the lunge. we'll come all the way back into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel, and be mindful to use what support you need, but see if you can enjoy feeling the weight of your head. And think about your jaw for a second. If you're feeling kind of like you're clenching a little bit, sometimes you can just let your teeth, your upper and lower teeth, separate a bit. Let yourself really relax all through your face. Good. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll bend our knees and bring our hands to our hips and press into our feet to rise on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And let's inhale the hands right on up through the midline on the exhale. Open the arms like wings as you come on forward into your standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find that nice long flat back. And we're going to step the left foot back this time and come into lunge. Good. And again, as you make your way into your downward facing dog pose, it is up to you whether you like your hands up higher or lower. Be really aware of your shoulders. In fact, let yourself hug your elbows in like you're holding a beach ball between them there. Your elbows are just gently coming inward. And you can reach back through your sitting bones. You can always bend your knees, remember, in dog, totally up to you. Next inhale, we'll come on out towards that plank. And again, it is totally not necessary to do a full one. And you can put knees down. You can put your forearms down. You can do little push-ups if you prefer. Or really focus on the core of the body in your plank pose. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog. And we'll bring our left foot forward this time. Find lunge. So again, if you need to put your right knee down or both knees down, or however you need to get back to that lunge. And then we'll come on back again into our standing forward bend. And again, go right to your breaths. I know a lot of you like to hold your elbows. It feels good to you to do that. You can, you don't feel sore in your back or any discomfort. Otherwise, man, be really mindful and put elbows above knees or use your chair or your blocks. And just enjoy. Let your breaths, if you can, even out a little bit in length, the inhales and the exhales, so that, you're not letting your inhale be longer, a lot longer, or a lot shorter than your exhales. Good. And then we're going to bring our hands on up to our hips and bend our knees and rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms and inhale our right arm all the way out and up overhead. And let yourself just reach up through the fingertips on that side of the body, right? So really feel the right foot in the floor as well. Bend your knees a tiny little bit, just a little bit, and then come over into the side. And as you do, press a little more into the right foot on the ground. Really enjoy opening up through the ribs there. Now, if you can, turn a little bit to look up. If it bothers your neck, don't do it. And then let your head turn to look a little bit down. And then let yourself come back into looking forward. And we're going to rise on up and lower that arm on down beside us. And we're going to inhale the left arm up. So again, feel your feet in the floor first. Really reach up through the fingertips without lifting the shoulder up, right? And then bend your knees a little bit. Really press into the feet. And then when you come to the side with the knees bent like that, press a little more into the left foot. Breathing into the left ribs here. And again, if you can turn your head a little bit, maybe you can look up a little, maybe not, don't force it. Maybe it feels good to turn to look down a little bit, up towards the floor, or maybe even letting your chin come down towards your body a little. And then come back to look forward again. We're going to rise up, both arms out up overhead. And on the exhale, we're going to bend the knees and come on into our standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And we're going to walk into down dog from here. So you know, whether your hands are on the chair or the blocks or the floor, you still want to focus on that length of the spine. Let yourself feel your hands as well. Whenever, you know, it's harder to spread your fingers if you're on the blocks, but let yourself feel your hands equally. And we're going to come out towards that plank. Now, back bends are totally optional from here. You can do a back bend if you want, but you don't have to. You can come into plank. You can come down to the floor, do a Sphinx or a Cobra, or you can come through for an up dog. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So adjust if you need to, walk if you need to, let your head move around. In other words, kind of wiggle a little bit in your dog, right? You might want to let your knees both bend. You might want to shift a little bit with your hips, like you're wagging your tail, right? And then come on back to your full dog, and we're going to come on back out again to that plank. And you see from here whether your back bend sounds like a good idea to you. You can come down to the ground and come to Sphinx or Cobra, or you can come through for an up dog. Totally optional. And then we'll make our way again back into downward facing dog pose. From here, let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back again into our standing forward bend with our feet right underneath us. Watching your breath in and out. Remember, just be really mindful. If you need support, use it. Let it go through your face. And then from here, we'll let our hands come on up to our hips and bend our knees, rising on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And as we exhale and our hands come down, let the top of the head feel like it's floating up higher. Feel your feet in the floor now. Let yourself feel that uplift of your thighs. So it's like your thighs are lifting up towards the hips, creating space in your knees. And you feel lighter and taller, really, than when we started. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down beside us and move around a little bit if you need to. Walk around. I'm going to flip my chair around, so if you're using your chair, you might want to turn the back of it to face you. Do have your blocks handy at the front of your mat too. And we'll step our right foot back and come into warrior two here. So we're going to line up our heels. We're going to bend into that front knee and check it out. Make sure, look at it. You know, make sure that that knee is not coming inward. You want to make sure it's going right out over the center of your foot. You know, for some people, maybe even a little more to the pinky toe side of your foot. Really depends on your knee and how you're built. But just be mindful so that you feel comfortable there. And then just let your hands come to meet in front of your chest. And find your feet there in the floor equally. And then we're going to keep the hands together and inhale them up through the midline, but they're going to come right back down when you exhale. So when you exhale, let them come right back down to be in front of your chest again. So now you got to really keep the core of the body working here to do this. Inhale the hands up through the midline. And on the exhale, let them come on back down to be in front of your chest. And one more time. Inhale the hands up. This time we're going to open them out and lower them down into warrior two arms, letting the palms turn down towards the ground, reaching out through both sets of fingertips, letting the shoulders be soft, and feeling the feet equal in the floor. Good. So one more inhale here. And then turn your left palm up. Bring your right hand onto your right leg and slide that right hand a little more down and reach up towards the ceiling with that left hand. See if you can reach straight up. And feel that sense of breathing into the left side here. And on your next exhale, come into your side angle where you either put your hand or your forearm on your chair. You're still bent in that front knee. And you're going to bring that right arm up, if your shoulder lets you, into line with the right side of the body. If not, just keep your hand on your hip. So don't do anything that makes your shoulder feel uncomfortable. One more breath here. And we're going to come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet gently away from each other. And now let both your hands come down to your legs. Straighten your left leg out. And let your left hand come down for triangle. Now you may just want to slide it a little bit down your leg. Lengthen your torso out over that leg. You may want to use a block or the chair underneath your hand there. And then think of letting that right arm come straight up from your shoulder. Again, unless your shoulder, objects to that. So now, your torso is still lengthened over the front leg, but both legs are straight and thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Lengthened all the way out through the top of your head. Nice. We're going to bend the left knee. We're going to come back to Warrior Two again, pressing those feet away from each other. Remember, you can always use your chair if you need to. And now let your hands come down. Now we're going to find lunge. So releasing, most of you will probably want to use your chair or your blocks, right? I mean, you can go as low as you want or as high as you want, right? Finding your lunge, make sure you get adjusted there into that lunge. And we'll bring our left hand to our left hip and roll that shoulder up, where we either keep our hand right down there on the sacrum, or some of you might want to stretch that left arm up. That's up to you. So you come into the twist in the middle of the back, try not to drop into that right side there. And what you do with your arm is up to you and your shoulder. One more breath. And then we'll release. We're going to come down to lunge. We're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. And we'll bend our knees, press into our feet, and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And shift your hips back. Come into a little chair. You don't have to be into a deep chair pose. You can feel the thighs immediately engage when the hips shift back and the torso comes a little forward now. So you really want to make sure you're not doing this. You're not curving your back that way. Your back is really nice and lengthened, and your sitting bones are reaching back on a diagonal line. Good. Feel equal through your feet all the way up through your legs and your thighs and your hips. And then we'll rise on up to standing. Let yourself find mountain pose here. And then we'll release our arms on down, and we're going to go to the other side. I'm going to put my chair the other side, and we're going to step our left foot back this time. Again, have your blocks handy. You know what's coming. We're going to come into Warrior Two first. So we're going to step that left foot back. And remember, whether your feet are 2 feet apart, 3 feet, 4 feet, it doesn't matter. You still, when you bend that right knee, want to be really careful to be aligned there, right? And take your time as you start to let yourself start to rise your arms up, and then bend your elbows and bring your hands to be in front of your chest. Good. So be mindful. Feel really good. Feel very centered. And I mean, if you can close your eyes for a second, do. Don't if it makes you lose your balance. Good. And now remember, we're going to inhale the hands up through the midline and come back down with them. So when the hands rise up and then they come back down to be in front of your chest again, remember that the core body is really working, whether you want it to or not, right? Inhale the hands up. Feel how your belly lifts. And exhale, they come back down in front of the heart again. And now this time we'll inhale the hands up. We're going to open the arms out and then lower them down. Turn the palms down towards the ground. Look out over the front right hand there. Let yourself feel very equal between your legs and your feet. Good. Energy all the way out through the fingertips. Nice. We're going to turn the right palm up. Left hand to your leg. Reach straight up. Now really bring your breath into the right ribs there. Feel all that space as you bring a breath into the right side. And as you exhale, come into your side angle. So that can mean your hand or your thigh on your leg there. You can go as low as you want. Adding the left arm up into line is totally up to you. You do not need to do that. You And keep the hand down on your hip. You know, sometimes people want a little bit of movement. You can bring the arm wherever you can if it's not possible to bring it overhead like that, right? Good. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two from here. Feel the feet equal in the floor. Soften the shoulders down. We're going to straighten the right leg out, and we're going to bring that right hand down for triangle. So as you come into triangle, so if you're lower down with your hands, oftentimes it's easier if your feet are farther apart, right? But if you're up higher, it's fine to let yourself keep your feet closer together. Again, same thing for the left arm going up. That's totally dependent on your shoulder. If you do have the hand up, straight up from the shoulder, turn the palm to where it faces that front long edge of your mat there. Good. We're going to bend the right knee. We're going to come on back again into that Warrior Two. Pressing the feet away from each other gets us right back into that core. And now let your hands come down. And again, we're going to find lunge. So you turn yourself to bring your hands down. Maybe you want to use your blocks. Maybe you want to use your chair. Remember, your blocks have all these heights. So if you're not comfortable being lower or higher, just change to the next one and see if it's any better, right? And then we'll add that twist, right hand to the right hip, onto the low back. Make sure you're not dropping into that left long side. The twist is in the middle of your back. And you can add the arm up if you want. Right arm can come up or not. And remember to think about your head being in line with your spine. So try not to let your head hang. You know, let it come to where it feels like it's a part of your spine if you can. And then we'll just bring our hand on down, and we're going to step forward, get our feet right underneath us. And take your time here. Let your knees bend a little more deeply than you usually do. Let your hips release. You might even shift your weight a little more to your heels. Let your low back release. And one more breath. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips and press into our feet. We're going to come on up to inhaling the arms all the way out and up. And as we bring the hands down for Mountain Pose, again, try to think about feeling taller and lighter. Very lightheaded, right? A lot more space in the spine. A few poses does it. All of a sudden you feel taller. Feel like it's easier to breathe. And then we'll release and let our arms come down. Shake out a little bit there. So this time we're going to come into Warrior One. So if you're using your chair, let the chair be in front of you with the seat turned towards you. And also make sure you have your blocks handy, all right? So if you can, let yourself step your right foot back. And front-facing warrior. This is the front warrior where your shoulders are square to the front of your mat. It might be quite a bit shorter stance than you are in your Warrior Two. This back foot is turned out maybe 20, 30 degrees, but the heel is on the floor. And when you bend that front knee and you look down, sometimes this pose it's too easy to go too far with the knee. So just make sure you can look down and see your toes, right? And then let your arms release on out and see if you can imagine just a breath of air underneath your arms, right? Turn your palms forward then. Feel that openness across your chest. Feel like you're reaching down through your fingertips, your shoulders, or down away from your ears. Good. And now make a loose little fist with your hand and send your pinky finger out. Just your pinky, right? And then start to let yourself reach down through the pinky finger and really feel the shoulders softening down. And then from here, imagine you're going to start to reach forward with your pinky fingers, okay? Pinky fingers are reaching forward. They're going to come up, 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 up. You can widen into a wide V. And again, you still just have the pinkies reaching up. Let yourself maybe even look up a little bit. And then come back down into that little loose fist with your hands. And let the fist circle a little bit with your hands overhead like this. And you can reverse circles whenever you want. And then when you're ready, open your hands out, turn your palms to face each other. Spread your fingers out, and then come on into your Warrior One. Really enjoy feeling that lift up through the front of the body, the release down the back of the body. One more breath. And then let your arms release on down. And we're going to bring our hands down and find a lunge. So hands can be on the chair seat or on your blocks. Let yourself just find your lunge. And now you're going to, from the lunge, you might need to adjust a little bit. You're going to try to get your left foot underneath you and reach that right leg up in the air into a little warrior three. So if you have the chair, it's pretty easy. You can just shift your hands around the seat of the chair and you can shift your blocks wherever you need them, right? Bend both your knees a little bit. Let yourself release by just letting the knees bend. And then go ahead and come straighter again. Let the right pinky toe face down towards the ground. Let yourself enjoy. If anybody wants to release their left arm forward, they can. If you got your chair there, you can put your left hand on the back of your chair, which lifts up the upper body a little bit more, right? You don't have to let go at all, of course, with your hand. So one more breath. And then we're going to bring the leg and the hand down if it was up, and we're going to separate our feet towards the outside edges of our mat. And see if you can let your elbows come to rest above your knees. So you're lengthened out. Take your time there. If you want to come farther forward and not rest your elbows, but instead bring your hands down towards the floor, you're more than welcome to. You can straighten your legs out. It's kind of like a wider standing forward bend, but that's up to you. Be where you're comfortable to be. Good. One more breath there. And now come up a little bit. And if you can put hands on blocks, do. So your back is lengthened, right? And you're and you can even use the chair if you'd rather. But from here, we're going to think about bringing our right hand to reach over towards our left ankle, but you still have your left hand giving you support there on the block. So you're coming in across to that opposite ankle with your hand underneath the other arm. Just take a breath there. And then come on back and let your right hand be supported. Bring your left hand then across and reach towards your right ankle. Coming into that little bit of a twist there in a forward bend. Be really mindful, don't force it. And then come on back into center again. Let your knees bend a little bit. Bring your hands to your thighs. Press your way on up to standing. And from there, keep your feet apart and let your arms just come out, straight out a little higher than your shoulders. Coming into a little five-pointed star. So make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward. Your tailbone is reaching down, and if your feet were in mountain, it would be reaching like a little behind your heels. Really reach out through your fingertips. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down and shake out a little bit. Walk around a little bit. We're going to do the other side. So we're going to step the left foot back for warrior one. So again, as you step back, remember, whether you widen your stance out a little bit so your balance is a bit better, whether you shorten or lengthen your stance, you just want that back foot on the floor. Heel is turned maybe 20, 30 degrees back, right? And then let yourself just bring your gaze on forward. Let your arms hang for a second. And remember, you're not trying to tuck your tailbone under you in warrior one. You're engaging your belly a little bit. Your tailbone reaches back on a diagonal line. Good, and then let the arms float a little away from you. Turn your palms forward. Spread your fingers out. Good, and then again, make that little loose fist, but send your pinky finger out only. And then we're going to reach the pinkies forward and up. And again, as you come up, you can widen the arms, feel like the arms are growing out of your back. You can look up a little bit if you choose to, or you can look forward. And then make fists up there with your hands and let them circle. So you got to really keep using the belly and the low back to keep your balance here, right? When you circle your hands around up there. Finish off, and then open your hands out wide. Turn the palms to face each other. Even draw the pinkies more towards each other. And then you can look up a little if you want. Feel that lift at the base of your shoulder blades, right? So be really mindful there. One more breath. And then let your arms release on down. We're going to find lunge. So bring your hands down to what you like, you know, whether it's a blocks or the chair seat is fine. And then if you're going to shift to go all the way onto that right foot, you got to make your hands go farther forward on the chair seat or on the blocks. And then you're just going to shift onto that right foot and lift your left leg up. And try to think about it being easy. And then bend both your knees a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of a relief there. Get your hands in just the right place for your warrior three. And then go ahead and lengthen the leg back. Remember, the leg can be as high as parallel to the floor, or it can be lower, right? And again, if you want your right hand to come up off of the chair seat to the chair back, or to reach the arm forward and overhead, you can. Not necessary. Totally up to you where you go in that warrior three, whether you want to let your hand come off the block or not. One more nice strengthening breath here. And then again, let your leg come down, separate your feet wider, but this time let your toes turn out a little bit. So you're turning your heels inward and your toes out. You can rest your elbows above your knees again. Totally up to you. Let yourself just be where you can. Make sure your knees feel okay and you feel okay there. Good. Now, if you can bend your knees a little deeper and you want to, you can. You can shift your hips back, flatten your back out a little bit more, keep your elbows there above your knees, and come into that squat there. If anybody wants to squat all the way down, go for it. You know, I mean, if you want to let your hips come way down towards the ground, I mean, you can always kind of support yourself with your hands behind you. Or if you feel like you want your feet to come a little closer together, you can bring your hands forward. Don't force anything. Let it feel good. Good. And then when we get ready to rise back up, take your time. Get your feet underneath you so your hips distance apart and parallel. And then let your knees bend. Press equally down into your feet. Rise on up to standing. And we're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up. And as we exhale and our hands come down, we're floating up higher. Top of the head upward towards the ceiling. Feeling the feet equal in the floor. Remember too, if you feel like swaying a little bit in your mountain pose, it's fine to let the body adjust its way into alignment there. Be aware of feeling your hands together too. Just that gentle connection through each finger, your thumbs, whatever part of your palms are touching. And then we're going to let our arms come on down beside us and shake everything out that you need to. Move around however you want to. We are going to come down onto our mats, onto our bellies on the floor. So take your time, come on down, make a little pillow with your hands and rest your forehead on your hands if that's comfortable for your neck. You know, if that doesn't work for you, don't do it. If you need to adjust another way for shoulders, or even if it feels just uncomfortable to have your head up like that, then take your hands away. Kind of experiment, and then see if you can curl your toes under back there on the mat. Lift your knees up off the floor. Feel how your belly engages immediately. Your tailbone will curl down a little bit. And then go ahead and bring the legs back down. Go back to the tops of your feet. And then bend your right knee and let your right foot circle. Right? So you're just circling your foot. And you're just, have the foot up towards the ceiling. Stop in reverse circles. Good. And then lengthen that leg back down and go to the left foot coming up. And then let it circle. So if you can, really isolating, right? You're just circling the foot around, feeling your ankle. And then when you're ready, reversing that circle. Good. And then come on back with that leg down long. And we're going to come on into Sphinx Pose. whether you get your elbows under your shoulders or maybe you need to stay lower and slide them back more towards your waist. Let yourself feel the belly engaging. And now, this is a back bend. Really is a nice opener for the front of the body, and you just don't want to be uncomfortable in your low back, so be mindful. It's a pose that for most people feels really good, right? Not everybody. And then from here we'll bring our hands together and clasp them, and as you bend your knees and lift your hips up, there you are in a half forearm plank. Pull yourself towards the front of your mat so you're on that flesh above your knees. Really flex your feet. Really let yourself feel connected to the belly and the low back here. And if you're like, okay, well, I can do that for a few seconds and then I need to rest, then you can. Or you may decide you want to put your feet down and lift your knees up and come into a full forearm plank. So if you feel like doing a full forearm plank, you can come up fully into that forearm plank. Pressing down into the forearms, feeling like you're drawing your elbows towards each other. One more breath. And then we're going to come all the way down. Make that little pillow with your hands again. Bend both your knees. And separate your knees a little more towards the outside edges of your mat. And bring your feet towards each other. So it's almost like the feet prop themselves up. If you want, you can let the feet come, soles of the feet towards each other, and the feet come down. If that releases your hips, don't force it. And don't try to make your hip pointer bones stay on the ground either. Right? So you're just letting your hips release. You're not forcing anything at all. We're all built so differently. You're not trying to make yourself push your feet to the floor by any means. Good. And then bring your feet on back up. Let's bring our knees back under us again, just normally, and stretch the legs long. And now, let your head come up off your hands, just a little bit. And bend your right knee, right? This might be entirely enough of a half bow pose for you. You are engaging your back just to lift your head up, number one. Some of you I know like to come higher. You can kind of come more up to your forearms. You can, if you want, reach back with your right hand and get hold of the top of your right foot. Totally up to you whether you do that or not. And if you have the foot, you can push it into your hand a little bit, like you're trying to straighten your leg. That's going to really open across the right side of your chest, not to mention engaging your quad. Good. So one more breath there. And then we're going to release the leg down, whether we had it with our hand or not. Put your forehead back on your hands for a second. Let your hips just kind of rock a little bit side to side. And then come back to center and float your head up again off your hands. And bend your left knee and flex the foot. So there you are. That is a back bend. If you feel like you'd like to kind of shift to bring your arms, the forearms to give you support and be up a little bit more, do it. If not, don't do it, right? Lifting back to get your foot is up to you, whether you get your left hand to hold the foot. If you push the foot into your hand, it'll open the left side of the chest a little bit more. That's half bow. Don't do it if it doesn't feel good. And then we're going to release. All of those are half bow, just bending the knee. From here, we're going to come back towards pose of a child. Shift your way back. Let yourself take your time. You know you can stay hips up in the air. You do not want to shift back hips to the heels if your knees don't like that. So be really mindful. Blankets can help in this pose, like putting blankets underneath your knees and also rolling a blanket and putting it behind your knees so that you can kind of not bend so deeply but have a little support. That can feel good. And use your arms wherever feels the best for your shoulders. Now, the arms can be soft overhead. They can come back alongside your legs with the palms facing up. So just be mindful. Let it feel good. Feel the breath expanding the low back. Now, if you're able to do this one, do. If not, don't even try it. But you can come up and thread the needle with your left arm, coming underneath you, and come down onto the right side of your head. And let your shoulder release that way. And if you're like, that is so not a shoulder release for me, don't do it. Breathe and let yourself feel released between the shoulder blades on your back. And we're going to press our way up to go to the other side if we're doing this. So if you're bringing that arm on through, coming down to the side of your head, I mean, you can always put your hand under your head, use that other hand as a pillow there. Or you can keep your arm soft, or even stretch the other arm overhead if you want, right? Or not do this at all, remember? Good. And then we're going to let ourselves press our way back up. One more breath here at center in your child's pose. And to make your way around to sitting, it is up to you how you do that, right? So just be really mindful. We're going to come on around with our legs in front of us, and we're going to get those straps. Did anybody not get a strap? Kathy, I got you. You know you can sit up on a blanket to do this. So if it feels better to be up higher, bring a blanket underneath you. We're going to bring the strap onto the ball of our right foot. So I'm going to mirror you. So bringing the strap across the base of the big toe mound and the base of the little toe mound. And you know, this is the thing here, this other leg. That's the thing you have to adjust the way you want. So if your left foot can come into the inside of this leg anywhere, you can do that. You can also, if your leg feels, or hip or knee feel really kind of iffy, you can also support this leg so that it's not hanging in space, so to speak, right? So that you don't feel pressure, undue pressure. And the other thing you can do is just forget bending the knee at all, right? Because you want to be really mindful of that leg. And then, of course, we're going to focus on trying to stretch the hamstring out. So press the ball of your foot into the strap here. And when you think about coming forward a little bit, just imagine, I mean, even if you can't really come forward at all, imagine inhaling into the length of your spine. And you know how when we start class, we exhale, we think of coming a little bit forward? You can do that here. You can move a little. You can inhale your way up and exhale your way a little forward, and keep pressing into that strap with the ball of your foot, and feel the heel of the right foot drawing back towards you. Now some of you might not want to do that little movement. That might not help you at all. It might feel worse. So you can always come forward and stay forward. Just letting the back of the leg adjust. If it starts to give you a little bit more, then you can go a little bit maybe farther forward. Remember, you don't want to round into really letting yourself come forward from your shoulders. You want to think about coming with that long back. Just to let yourself get the most out of the pose. Be with your breath. Good. One more breath here. Now when you do come back up, take your time. All we're going to do is put the other foot in there. And then it's pretty easy to get the right leg foot out. And again, you do what feels right. And you know, sometimes you feel fine when you're sitting up with this leg somewhere, this foot either lower or higher, and you feel fine until you come forward, and sometimes that's what will put pressure into your knee or your hip, so maybe you'll feel like you want to support it a little bit, right? So just be mindful, and once you start to feel like you can sit up tall, you can feel your sitting bones reaching down, the top of the head reaching up, You may already be feeling a stretch in the back of this leg, right? So if you decide you want to come forward a little bit, it feels better to move through it a bit, do it. Or maybe you feel better to think of coming forward and staying there. And sometimes if you stay just for 2 or 3 or 4 breaths, it almost feels good to go a little bit deeper, right? So just be mindful. We are all built differently. This has nothing to do with anything. I mean, you're going to get a release in the back of your leg here. It's not important how far forward you go or whether you go forward at all. Your breath, let yourself follow your breath all the way in and out, and if you feel like you're able to go a little more into the forward bend, do. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself release to come on back up, and go ahead and bend that knee, all right? Bring your feet onto the floor. Let's just put our strap on off to the side. And now, you may want your feet to come out a little bit further, but try to get your feet together. And try to keep your knees as much together as you can, too. And then you can either just like bring your left hand over to hold the outside of your right knee here. We're going to twist. We're going to bring ourselves around here into a twist. You may decide you want to drag your whole arm across, that arm all the way across to the outside of the leg. If that doesn't feel good in your shoulder or anywhere else, don't do it. But let yourself lengthen up through the top of your head. So in other words, try not to like give in to that roundness of the back. Really, you're lengthened up. The twist is in the middle of the back. Good. One more inhale. Exhale, come on back into center. When you get there, hold behind your thighs and lean back just a little bit. Not much. Don't lift your feet up. It's kind of like a boat pose variation. Your belly really engages if you just let your arms come straight and you lean back a little bit. And then make your way on back upright. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale again, you may just want to keep your hand there, like over the knees. You may want to release your arm across. And again, find that twist in the middle of the back. Really draw your right sitting bone down towards the ground. Lengthen up through the top of your head. Again, you're trying to keep your knees fairly close together. Maybe not all the way, but fairly close. Good. So one more breath here. And then use your belly to bring you on back around into center. Let those legs come out long and shake them out a little bit. We're going to go down to our backs on the floor. So kind of get everything out of the way. Let yourself come on down onto your back. Once you get down there, bring your knees on into your chest and let your knees go side to side however you want, or circle if that feels even better. If you really like that circling of the knees where you outline the sacrum, that flat at the base of the spine, that flatness kind of gets shifted from the top to the side, to the bottom, to the other side. I just love circling, but you can just do what feels good. And then we're going to bring our feet onto the floor. For just a second, set up for bridge pose, but for just a second, reach your arms overhead. And they don't have to be right overhead. You can have them like towards the corners of your mat. Let the arms be soft. Right? And do just a couple of little pelvic tilts now. So when you exhale, let your tailbone curl up. Feel the back flatten onto the ground. Don't lift your hips up. Let it be really deep. When you inhale, the belly rises again and the low back comes back to normal. So just a little kind of rocking in the pelvis, really. And then finish off. So your spine comes more neutral now. Bring your arms down alongside you. And as you start to think about coming into bridge pose, if you'd rather do supported bridge, do. If you'd like to bend your elbows, do those robot arms. We're pressing into the backs of the arms and rising up, rolling your shoulders under, and if grabbing a block is what you'd rather do, then grab a block. And I know sometimes bridge pose feels not quite right. You can always come down, readjust your feet a little bit farther or closer towards you before you lift up, and it feels better, right? Remember, you don't want to feel bridge pose in your back. If you're in bridge and you can if you're on the block and you feel like, playing a little bit there, you're more than welcome to do that. You can let one leg stretch long if you're on the block, or both legs. You can let yourself open the front of your hips. You can lift your legs up in the air if you want. Just take your time. And if you know, bridge pose is not for you and you are done, when you come down from bridge, just make sure you bring your knees in, let yourself release. But take your time. I'm just going to start to come around to get lights, and then eventually I'll be walking around to grab stuff as we get ready for Shavasana. But I want you to do any other movement or pose that feels really natural and good to you. So take your time. And don't rush. So feel like you got all the time in the world. This is not the time of year where you feel that way. I know. But it'd be nice to think that way for just a few minutes, right? So be mindful. Let yourself stretch if you need to stretch. Bring your knees up and in. This is looking pretty good for you. Okay, so I'll start to bring stuff. I'll look for some signs. Sign right there in front of me. So remember, if you lie out with your legs long and you know you're not comfortable, don't ignore it. Let me bring you a bolster to put underneath your knees, see if that helps, or sometimes just a roll blanket will help. But just take your time, let yourself kind of settle in. It's fine to wiggle your way into Shavasana. Let your arms, too, come to a comfortable place for your shoulders. And enjoy that firmness of the floor, really supporting you, allowing you to become softer. There's that contrast between the firmness of the ground and then when you start to relax and come to your breath. You'll go in and out of those little quiet places. Keep coming back to your breath every time you're off into thinking. And just give yourself the gift of these few minutes. Trusting, really, that your body and your brain will get what they need from all you just did. Let yourself completely and fully relax.